Let me say a very special good evening to all of you. And let me also welcome you to this edition of our program, Real Talk. Of course, Real Talk happens every Monday night from 8 to 9 p.m. I am Dr. Thomson Fontaine. I'm the political leader of the United Workers' Party, Team Dominica. And we are normally joined by our co-host, Mr. Glenroy Soso Coffee, whom I suspect will be joining us momentarily. So let me say that it is good to have you, and thank you so much for being a part of us. Okay, so we are joined by Soso, so I just want to bring him in now and say good night to you, Soso. All right,
Yeah, I'm seeing you clearly. I'm seeing you clearly.
All right.
Yes,
Well, a
yes,
very
yes.
good night to you, and it's good to have you tonight.
Oh, yes, suddenly, last week I missed because, I had a little technical glitch and could not have come on, and I hope you made the apology on my behalf because
Yes, I did. Yes,
it's
I did.
important that the people know that it's not, I did not boycott. I have no intention to boycott anything. So, yes, I am here. So, Doc, today is the 24th of November already, just cruising up to the Christmas season. What do
Yes,
you
the end
think?
of the year, the end of 2025 beckons. Absolutely.
Wow, wow, wow. And when we look back at some of the days, business has not been good. There are a number of persons who own businesses. They say, well, look, things are bad and they're really not making it. I hope this time around, there'll be a little bit of something for them this Christmas. I hope that they could realize some of the profits because they have been by and large employing Dominicans. And the private sector we know is not as vibrant as it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the engine of growth. But as we see, the government wants to hold the foot on employment, and being the biggest employer is something that doesn't augur well for us. Your take on that, Doc?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct, and it's unfortunate though, because usually, Christmas time used to be the time when entrepreneurs and business persons are looking forward to it, because that usually would be the best time of year, a time when people feel, it's the end of the year. They're not guarding as closely as the rest of the year, their little pennies and so on, and they would go out there and spend and so on. But that has changed, lately, and it's like largely because of the way the economy is in Dominica. We're in a very serious and very poor state, economy, and these are the consequences of it, and it's very unfortunate. But before we go any further, so I just wanted to, extend condolences, because two young persons from my village, two young ladies, lost their lives within 2 days. We had two deaths in Grand Fond, unrelated, but two young individuals in the prime of their lives, Khadija and Selina, Khadija Batu and Selina Shillingford.
Yes, sorry. Oh, yes,
And
yes, 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 yes.
yeah, and so it is really sad. So the entire village is in mourning, and two young lives taken suddenly and without any real explanation. And so it's a bit of a trying time. So I just wanted to send condolences to the families. These are people I know very, very well. I just want to send condolences to the families of those that have been impacted by these deaths. I mean, not too long ago I interacted with Khadija, and one of the young ladies from the village, and so on. It's very unfortunate, that you know so soon, and taken, just as it were in a blink of an eye, and no one saw it coming. And so I thought it would be good, even before we go into a program, to
Doc,
really extend
I
this
think we're having a little off and on. I don't know if it's from your end. I don't know
well.
if it's from your end. We're having a little off and on.
But it's going across clearly though. So just keep
Okay, fair
talking.
enough. Okay, I
Yeah,
will keep
it's
talking.
going
Okay, good.
across. Yes.
Well, yes, and as we say, we condole on behalf of the families, and we just want to tell them hold strong. And as you know, in a society where we are having a lot of these things over these days, and a lot of people are really affected by this. But again, life move on, and We have to just agree that that is life. But we do, and as we there, we let us pray for those who are in hospital, hospitalized right now. We have our very own Erasmus Laura, who has taken a fall and who, is at the hospital, recuperating slowly but nicely. But we just wish him well, and all the other persons who are at the hospital, we just wish them a speedy recovery. Well, Doc, let me just say for the record that we have been on the run with our town hall style meeting, and the recent one we've had was on Friday the 21st, Friday past 21st of November at the PSU building, Public Service Union, formerly the CSA, and that was the Roseau Central Constituency Association or the Roseau Central Constituency town hall meeting. And a number of things, a number of persons, they have raised concerns with respect to certain areas like health issues, with respect to the even our health center we have had for so many years in Roseau Central, it is no more. Some persons have raised the question of a lot of persons roaming the streets naked, which means that they experience a lot of we are experiencing from on a day-to-day basis a number of persons with mental issues. So yes, that is by large, and you heard me on behalf of the party presented the case for Roseau Central, where we could inject some, life in the Roseau Central, and some of the plans, and generally some of the plans that the party has for Roseau Central. And you yourself, while that was the case, you presented the 10 pillars, which of course sort of correlate and link and collaborate and integrate, the whole development thrust for Roseau with the 10 pillar plan. So I think it is just timely and relevant that we revisit some of the areas. And tonight, that's exactly what we do. But your thoughts on it? What did you make
Yes.
of Friday's meeting?
No, certainly it was definitely a good outing. We were able to, to reach out to the people of Roseau with a very, definite plan. I liked the plan put forward by Mr. Isaac Baptist, the city planner and architect, with regards to some of the areas that we are looking at, taking care of the transportation issue, of the traffic issue in town, parking issues, the conversion of some of these unused buildings, In other words, I heard, and the people that were there obviously heard as well, a plan that is very, very comprehensive and is not just limited to paving of the sidewalks, which seems to be what this government is specializing in. We have a plan that goes way beyond just paving. You're talking about, really upskilling Roseau. And one of the things that, as you said, a caller made the query, having to do it for young people. And for those of us who are listening from overseas, we're in a crisis mode in Dominica with regards to the number of young men in particular. We seem to be in crisis mode in the sense that there are just a large number of, in particular, young men who appear to be losing their minds and who are moving around the streets of Roseau. They are referred to as sparrows, but that's not a term that I use because I understand these are young men that come from families and should have a lot more dignity than being referred to as sparrows. But the fact that there are so many of them tells you that we're in crisis. I mean, there was a time in Roseau where you could count a number of so-called mad fellas on the road, but now you have a large number of people, and you have to really get to the root of this issue. It is clear that we do not have adequate medical or mental health care. And I like the plan that you put forward. So talking about early intervention, a lot of
Right.
these young men, we believe, can be saved in the sense that they don't have to get to that point. That is the last desperate point. But very early on, if you have treatment for them, if you have centers where these young people can be treated, can be counseled, that would go a long way. Also just the whole economic situation. A lot of these young men, some of them, quite frankly, are suffering from the lack of opportunities and the frustration of not being able to work, not being able to provide for themselves, and so on. All of those pressures that are brought to bear on them. So I think that is something that, in particular, I would like for us to really focus on as a party, and that is certainly one of our areas. One of our areas is that is
Health.
definitely one of our areas.
Yes, and you're correct. And as we speak, I mean, Doc, it's really appalling. I mean, 25 years of labor government. And the best labor could do is to remove the health center from Roseau Central. I mean, look at the state of the health center at the gardens. I know we have moved this health center wrong. Roseau has always had a health center since I've known myself living in Roseau. I was born and raised in Roseau, so I know. We had formerly Royal All Saints University is right there right now. That's where the health center was. Then you move up to the Roseau Girls School area, and we had the boys' school there area. The health center was right there at one point in time. And then now that health center moved to the gardens when this government come. Now the state of the gardens, the health center, the gardens is just not in it. The state is
So it
just
has been abandoned, right?
abandoned. What they did, they actually resort to cleaning it because you know what it is. The health centers located right in the gardens, and because they knew that Dominicans were visiting, that they tried to clean out as if that they were going to refurbish it. But as we speak, no work is going on there, and Roseau is without a health center for many years now. And so we are saying that we're calling for the reinstatement. In fact, one of the persons in the audience, one of our constituents, actually called for ask the question of whether or not it's going to we are intended to reinstate the health center in Roseau Central, and that is of course because you have quite a lot of persons still living in the city and around the city, and access is something that they need because some of them are ill health and they really cannot make it, and sometimes the ambulance services just cannot fulfill all the demands you have with respect to person because remember you have more people getting sick now and requiring the assistance of the ambulance service. And so sometimes people who want to visit the health center, especially elderly, have to now go to Newtown or to go to Hoodbridge Bay, which is Focal area. That is too much hard work. So we are saying, look, we are calling for the immediate reinstatement, but because this government has failed, I am saying on behalf of the United Workers' Party that we in the United Workers' Party with the view of actually reinstating this health center to facilitate, constituents within the Roseau catchment area and Roseau itself to ensure that we get the quality health care that we so deserve.
No,
And
absolutely. Mhm.
yes, and I was just going to wake you in that because, Doc, I just wanted to say again, just prior to the meeting and even long ago, you find that the gardens now is congested and the gardens now has become a car park and even a container storage area now. I've never seen that. I know, yes, we've had we had Creole in the park, Titikai Creole in the park, what they call it there. And okay, yes, but you have to clear up the gardens because I saw one of the tourists trying to take a picture, and the person have to try to move around the container and to move around to get the angle, and so it is really unsightly. And I'm calling on the authorities to remove all of the containers in the garden. It's really unsightly, and the parking situation needs to be addressed. Though I don't know when last you are passing the garden and to see that congestion. The gardens really is not a place for parking. And I'm saying without an alternative, it will be hard on the people for them to find alternative parking. But we really need to revisit doing the car park. And just as you see, Doc, what are you saying? Because are you complimenting that are you agreeing that we should really have the gardens free from this kind of congestion of parking?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it is, as you said, it's very unsightly, and it is not in keeping with the whole idea of the gardens. The gardens is supposed to be a place of recreation, a place that people can go and, free up, relax their mind, breathe in fresh, unpolluted air. But none of that is happening, and it's because of just carelessness and the fact that not enough is being done. And like you said, it's been a couple of weeks now since the Creole festivities. Or everything that has been brought into should have been removed by now. I mean, there's no excuse where you still have leftover stuff, even the gardens, even where we play cricket, that is
Right.
not still not yet available to us, and so a lot needs to be done. But I also wanted to talk very, very briefly about the health situation and the fact that you
Yes.
lamented the health center not being in use. I mean, that speaks to the overall neglect of the health of the health sector in this country. And that's the reason why the United Workers' Party team Dominica, we have made health one of our central pillars going into the future. Because without a very good health system, without a health system that is concerned about the young men, or the health system that offers mental health counseling and so on, without that health system that where you can get your medications and you can go in and as I said, I was regretting the deaths of two young people. One of them went in on Thursday and was dead by Saturday morning. And you wonder, well, I mean, that's a young person. I don't know obviously what the underlying condition was, but you think that if somebody goes into a hospital at that age in their 20s, you would expect them to walk back out, uh, to come out alive, but we have that over and over again where individuals, young people going to the hospital and they don't come out alive, So that tells me that we need to do something very serious about our health situation. And in addition to that, we have been making it very clear that as part of our development thrust, as part of developing Dominica, we will be inviting back into our country thousands of diasporans because we are convinced that as we begin to create the opportunities, as we begin to create jobs, as we begin to go into agriculture and manufacturing and all of those sectors that we have been talking about that we know can create good paying jobs, that our diaspora will come in. Already we have diasporans who are making inquiries about how they can invest. So we want our diasporans to come, do the investments, to be part to take ownership of the factories and just to help in this overall thrust. But they're not going to come in those numbers if our health situation continues as it is. And that's the reason why we have to place a tremendous focus on the health sector in Dominica. And this health sector needs to be absolutely transformed. And part of that transformation is ensuring that there is a working health center that is as near to a hospital as possible in the middle of Roseau, so that some of the congestion can be taken away, from the China Friendship Hospital. So we need to ensure that we have a focus on health. And that is something that we will spare no effort in focusing on because we understand the critical importance of healthcare. We'll have a healthcare ban on. We've spoken about that in the past, the plans to have a national health insurance scheme that will ensure that every single Dominican have access to health. Just this past weekend, somebody approached me. They were going for an MRI. The MRI, they said, is $1,200. Okay.
Wow.
Just to do an MRI because it's not available in the hospital. It has to be done outside. And it costs $1,200. And you have people not having that kind of money. You have people having to go around asking people to support them and so on because they want to get that. So we have a situation where the health already, the health costs are escalating, but a number of people are having difficulty keeping in line with it just because of the state of the economy of Dominica. And that's the reason why we have been putting forward a national health insurance plan that will cover all of Dominica so that people can feel free to go into the hospitals. And not only that, when they go to the hospital, they'll be guaranteed top medical care because that's also very important. You'll be able to hire the kind of doctors that you need, the kind of specialists that you need, whether it's cancer specialists, whether it is kidney specialists, bone marrow, whatever it is, whatever area of medicine that is required, those individuals can be hired so that we can have a really top-notch, excellent health system that our diasporas in particular will feel that they can come back to and they will not have to worry about their health.
Yes, very good. And, it is interesting again. The records will show again, and some time ago, you actually alluded to some statistical, performance with respect to indicators of the economy. And so, but when you look at, when I did this, I did an assessment with respect to looking at countries in the Caribbean region that have, psychiatric units. And we'll say every island, every country in the Caribbean region has one or two or three psychiatric units. Dominica, psychiatric hospital, sorry, psychiatric hospital, my mistake. Dominica is the only country that has a psychiatric unit and not a psychiatric hospital. And I don't know what is the reason for that, because in a psychiatric unit, because of the amount of mental case we have now, what you're going to do is that you'll find that people are being rushed to be medicated and to let off. But if you have a psychiatric hospital, the much needed care and attention that the patient needs would be fulfilled with a psychiatric hospital, where that patient can come in, get care, stay overnight, being observed, evaluated properly, and make sure when he or she is released, that he or she is ready to get back in the society with a level of rehabilitation and stability. As we speak now, the number of cases now is overwhelming, and the psychiatric unit, it doesn't have that kind of capacity to actually to deal with the number of cases we have. So we really have to look into a psychiatric hospital. Not that we, in the case of mental health, where we say preventative measures are the best thing. Preventative measures are really what you would need. So we need to actually have the ongoing clinics for mental health and to encourage people to attend these clinics, because some people since may not be aware that they suffer from mental health. And so that would be the first step to before it reaches an acute stage. But for those who have already passed that stage and need that care, I know we have a number of cases. And so a psychiatric hospital to me makes more sense, with respect to the kind of care and treatment and quality care that these patients need at this time. But being having just a psychiatric unit, it doesn't really augur well in terms of the space, the capacity you have in terms of the human resource capacity there, and the different areas. Because remember, you need to actually separate patients. Those that are in a higher level of mental distortion need to be housed differently from those who actually maybe just having a little surface thing. The medical people have the better terms to explain it, but I'm saying this is what we need. We need those facilities so that we can take care of those mentally deranged persons. And so it is unfortunate after 25 years that Dominica doesn't have a psychiatric hospital. Instead, we have been relying on a psychiatric unit for most part to deal with mental issues. Doc?
Yes, so indeed. So what we have said basically is that when we're talking about our health system, we are not just focusing simply on if you like physical health. We're talking about mental health as well, which is a very important part of the whole equation, especially given just the numbers of young people. And it seems to me at least almost every day there is a new person on the street.
Yes.
And it's extremely alarming. And you get the sense that not enough is being done. Interestingly, I was talking to a family recently, and there was this young man who was creating a lot of disturbance, and I was asking, but why is it that this gentleman is not at the hospital, because it was clear he was mentally deranged and so on. And then a little boy that was a little probably 6-year-old say, they freed him. he said they freed him. I found out afterwards that this was his uncle, so he knew him. So he was like, and in his innocence, when he would be asking the lady about this gentleman, he said, nah, they freed him.
Wow.
So but it is clear to me, or at least it was at the time, that this gentleman needed help, and here he was, disturbing the peace, and it was clear he was not all there. And it's because, as you said, we do not have the facility. I was told that the current facility is even overcrowded.
Yes.
It has a number of young people in there, and we have to find a way, and that's why I like what has been offered by the United Workers' Party team Dominica, having some early intervention. Because when they are like that, that is the last stage. They did not just get up and become that overnight.
Right.
They did not just end up on the streets. It has to be a process that they're going through. And that's where mental health counseling becomes critically important, and be able to ensure that people take their medication and that they follow throughs and so on. So that is something that that we are certainly focused on. Not only physical but also mental health is going to be a key part of what we're offering to the Dominican public as we seek to really improve our fortunes here in Dominica. Because as we prepare people for the workplace, obviously there may be increased stresses and so on. They might need that help and that counseling as well. So we have to ensure that we have a very good functioning mental health system in Dominica, and we are going to be guaranteeing that to the Dominican public.
Yes, and as you're saying that, I just reading a text here. I just got a text from a young person stating that, tell Dr. Thomson Fontaine, Richie, I really like his approach. I mean, your demeanor is good, and it's a serious issue concerning health. And I'm happy that, health is one of your 10 pillars because as I speak, I'm a student at a certain high school, and I know that a number of my schoolmates, a number of them come to school in the morning, and you can see that they are mentally stressed as a result of probably peer pressure. So even at the school level, we need intervention at the school level. We need people to actually speak out and to have persons, even though psychiatric, as what they call the other people there, the people who actually do mental evaluation could actually assist in trying to know some of the problems and to, even to evaluate students and to ask students questions because she can see a number of students at school are mentally just depressed. They come to school, it's like probably they were forced to come to school. It's not that they want to be there. And the stress level is really high. So I believe, in essence, what the person is saying there, the young person is saying there, they're happy to hear that health is one of our main pillars and that mental health is a real issue. And the many peer pressure and stress level can cause a lot of students to just go off sometimes. So, Doc,
Yeah,
there we are.
it's true. In fact, I've been told that a number of some of these young people that we see on the streets, they were actually at one time at high school. These are
Yes.
some of the kids who've been to high school, and it is truly sad, and that's where we need a focus. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It needs a focus, and I was talking to a gentleman recently who told me that he had a very interesting encounter. I think he saw three young boys on the road during regular school hours. And they asked them, well, what are they doing there? And they said, well, they were sent home because they're here, because of their hair. So they went to school, and I don't know, the teacher or the principal was not happy of the way they have not either not combed their hair, it was not combed out or something,
Right.
and they were sent home. And he was appalled. He was like, already there is so much pressure on these young men, and when you take such a drastic action against them, that can create further problems. And in fact, what he did was he actually took them to the Ministry of Education to lodge a protest. And I'm thinking that there must be a better way of handling a situation like this. Because if you send these kids out from school, they might say, well, I have no interest. Okay, so you don't want me in your school, fine, I'm not coming back.
That's right.
So we need to look out. I mean, I'm not in any way justifying their action. If they know that there are certain codes and so on for school, they have to abide by it.
They have to abide by that. Yeah, I say.
But you'll think that if it is something to do with a personal hygiene matter, that there's a better way of dealing with it than sending them home from school, having them miss school and just be on the street, quite frankly, when they
Yes.
should be in school. So we have a lot of work to do in that department, a lot of work to do as far as the health system is concerned. The health centers, you talked about the health center in Roseau Central that has been abandoned. We have a similar situation in Grand Fond. We have been promised a health center. Our health facility was built in 9, and I remember that very clearly because there was a big sign that says Oxfam Health Center, 1986.
Wow.
And that was built, that was like that until Hurricane Maria. Hurricane Maria wrought some destruction. The people of Grand Fond did some protests, and they were promised a new health center. It is 7 years now. The health center has not been rebuilt. They have moved the health center to a house, someone's basement, effectively, and it is just not appropriate for health, because when the nurse or the doctor is consulting with the patients in one room, the conversation is being heard by the persons waiting in the waiting room. So there is no privacy. Imagine you go to a doctor and you have a personal need or personal health condition, and you know that just a few feet away, people are listening to what you're telling the doctor. That certainly is not a good way, to have a health system. And so we have been in that situation now going on 7 years. So it seems to me, and when you have a health emergency, more likely than not, you have to take that person all the way to La Plaine. So it seems to me that we have dropped the ball as far as the health sector is concerned in Dominica. And we have to go back to those days when our primary healthcare system was the envy, literally the envy of the rest of the Caribbean. And that would mean ensuring that your health centers are fully functional, ensuring that your health centers are as close to the people as possible, that they're staffed with doctors and nurses, ensuring that your hospitals are up to scratch, or up to. I always give the example of this also. In 1979, when we had this major upheaval, May 29, 1979, do you know that in addition to the young man who died, that 9 other persons got shot? There were
Wow.
9 other persons who got shot that day. In other words, 10 persons in all got shot by the Defense Force bullets, and only one person died.
Wow.
All right, that is testament to the health system we had at that time, where they were able to deal with a mass casualty situation. One young boy was actually shot in the head. He was shot in the head, and he survived.
I remember
Oh,
Emmanuel Ema.
Emmanuel, yes,
Emmanuel
yes,
Ema, yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
Emmanuel Ema.
Yeah,
You know,
Emmanuel Ema. Yeah.
he was shot in the head and he survived. One of my classmates, we left SME and came down together. He was shot in the back. He survived. Other guys who got shot in the chest and so on, and all of these individuals were able to be operated upon, and they survived because at that time in 1979 we had a really good healthcare system. These days, you're hearing of persons going in just for you know routine observation, routine things, and they're coming out in a casket. So it tells me that we have a lot of work to do with the health. And that is why we are giving the people of Dominica the assurance that when we form the next government, we will focus very attentively on the health system. We'll ensure that we have a good mental health system in place, an insurance system that will cover persons so that the average person doesn't have to worry about getting treated, and ensuring that they have top class health facilities all over Dominica that will take care of the health of our people.
Oh, yes, certainly. Well, one person was saying earlier, stress leads to mental illness, such as depression, as well as from a lack of jobs and funds. And that's a fact. But I'll go a little further, Doc, and I'm happy that you mentioned, our diasporans and sourcing the right expertise at the time needed for the country. And you are spot on when you say, we will seek persons in the medical fraternity with respect to those who are in the diaspora. Like, for instance, we might even have to look at doing and collaborating telemedicine with our health situation in Dominica. Because I know when Dr. Sam Christian, got into his accident, because our good doctor Dale Langdebel still on the line and was able to communicate with doctors right in Dominica and had them do certain techniques to actually stabilize Dr. Sam Christian. So that right away, we have had persons suffering, from a lot of accidents, and they have hemorrhaged to death. If we had persons with expertise with respect to, to knowing about, how to stop certain blood flow and hemorrhage, then right away when in critical situation, doctors will say, so the same way you have retainers, like lawyers, retainers, you can have doctor retainers standing by. So when that situation arises, then that doctor can believe that. So we'll have to tap in our diaspora resource with respect to those in the medical field. have a listing of those who are qualified, whether it's chiropractors, you have those that, psychologists, you have those that for bone, and so you have those for blood, you have those for actually the heart and the different areas, doc. So we can source that kind of expertise so that when it relates to our situation, we can actually get these people to actually interact with our local people here and have a collaborative effort in terms of saving lives.
Absolutely. So that's the plan, And as I always keep reminding Dominicans, we are not waiting to get into office to start planning. We have started the planning process. We have been in consultation as we build on those pillars. We have been in consultation with our health experts, agriculture experts, manufacturing experts, IT experts. We are doing whatever is necessary. We are planning forward then. In other words, so that when we assume office, whether it's in a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever time frame it is, we'll be well prepared to hit the ground running. And health, of course, is a major, major focus of ours. And we have to ensure that the health of the population is taken care of. And in that way, we will be able to attract people. And not only that, once we have a fully functioning health system, we'll be able to attract health tourism. People can come in, do their operations in Dominica, and then they go to the Glow Show to convalescence. They go to the warm springs and so on to help. So we have the environment that is very conducive to tourism, to health tourism in Dominica. We have the rivers, we have the sea, we have the hot water, we have the calming effect of our forests, of our greenery. Everything that screams that you're getting well is right here in Dominica. So once we have a good functioning health system, we'll be able to attract a lot of tourists who will come to Dominica to do the operations, to get health care, and to recuperate. And that's another way that we will offer opportunities to our Dominicans. Because imagine if you now have a functioning, health tourism program, families can put up their homes, and make money that way, take care of people coming to recuperate for a few days or a couple of weeks and so on. You will have the tourism product expanding that way in a really nice way. So that is how we believe that we'll be able to even pay back the investments that are going to have to be put up in health, because what we're planning, what we're talking about is going to take a lot of resources. But that is something that we believe we absolutely have to invest into if we're going to ensure and guarantee the health of the public, which is critical, because if people are going to be working, people are going to be producing, they need to be healthy. And that's where the health system and the investments in health come in.
Yes, and another text message just coming there. So, but the government didn't say they get 41 million US from the Saudi government. Now, what have they been doing with the money? Okay, let me say you are correct, 41 million US dollars. They talk about they get it from the Saudi government to rehabilitate the road. So that's about 111 million EC dollars. And Doc, it's interesting to know. Some time ago, I went on university and actually measured. You say you got $41 million to rehabilitate roads. And on some time ago, last year, and even earlier in the year, and this year as well, they do sidewalks in areas. I measured about 45 feet of sidewalk that they did in concrete. That is not the new roads that we want to see. We're talking about uprooting all of the sidewalks and putting a level sidewalk, not what that haphazard thing. We're not telling the government to go and mix concrete with a bucket with two little boys by the road and then point and then trying to align the road. That is not what we want. We want to see a holistic approach in terms of development, not that piecemeal approach. Or you can get $41 million and you're going to put 41 feet of concrete on a thing and say that, and it's still undulating. I mean, come on. I mean, we really don't know what we're talking about. But Doc, most importantly, let us address the traffic congestion as well, because it is really becoming now a hazard now in the city, and some of the areas we have identified for remedials in respect to the parking is that one, you cannot have a one lane street probably and have two side parking. I know what happens. A lot of people have businesses and they are unable to bring in things and get out things from their businesses. So that's already a problem. And that's why now you see another person putting tires on the road. They put in some sort of projectile on the street, so that they'll say that is my reserve spot. For us to have ease of traffic, and particularly if someone falls ill and the ambulance has to navigate through Roseau, it is unable to navigate when you have two side parking. So we have to consider now looking at one side parking and allow for free flow of traffic, including the ambulance and even the fire service and even the police, if there is some kind of accident or incident taking place, a fire, someone fell ill, and so forth. So we need to do that. But I am not going yet to talk about introducing penal measures whereby you're going to start ticketing people for parking in parking areas they don't have to park, or putting meters. No, we're not going there yet. When we will have an alternative parking and people do not want to adhere to the parking, then they will have to face the penal measures, like, for instance, the ticketing and so. But in the absence of that, you need to actually have something temporary. So what we were saying, I know for sure, I and my team, we did the survey. We have 199 empty lots in Roseau Central. Some are very large, some are small. What we are saying is that for temporary parking, and even can create short-term employment, so that persons who have lot, the city council can work with the landowners and to have them probably use their facilities for parking. If you have at least, if you have 100 lots, I'm dog, holding 10 cars, that's already 1,000 cars off the streets. But you don't want 1,000 cars off the streets and where they used to park on the road, then somebody else parking there. No, you want to make sure that you have the one side parking. Then you encourage persons with empty lots sizable enough to actually put some parking there. In the meantime, they are not using the facility or the land, and to do something to and encourage persons to. They could have somebody with a booth there collecting, ticketing people that come in there, checking the hours that they spend and they pay for their service. Or is it employment for people? They could have car washing at the same time. So these are the little things we are talking about. And also too, the vendors dog that we have been talking about. We say, look, it is very unsightly to have your vendors all over in the streets. It doesn't look very good. It's unsightly. Again, the city council can work with the landowners and the smaller lots, empty lots, and things. They could arrange it in a way that they could color code them and have different vendors vending cubicles. So take, for instance, you have, let's say, vegetables. It can be all the green cubicles painted in green. You're looking for vegetables. In orange, all the cubicles painted in orange, maybe craft, and so on and so on and so on. And even like a persons with point and local products, you could have them doing. What is important is that when you get them off the streets, they want to make it $1. So what you do in the meantime to correlate that whole, investment and to allow persons to make money and to feel the whole, to get a taste of the tourism pie, you'd have to make some streets mandatory that tourists, you have tour guides where they tour the tourists. The point is, tour guiding is not about just going to the Emerald Pool, and going to the Trafalgar Falls and, certain other areas like the Bory Lake and the Boiling Lake. No, you can actually organize street tours where you have tour guides actually walking the streets where these vendors vend, so that it must be a must pass, so that the tourists will have a chance to see the expositions of the various local products and to patronize where applicable. It is something that is workable. Don't tell me that you just put the vendors in areas and you forget them. It should be a must pass for our tourists, because the vendors are going to be disenfranchised if they are placed in areas where the tourists do not pass. So you make it mandatory that the tourists pass in these streets, so that at least they can spend the tourist dollar and the vendors can benefit from that. And so, Doc, these are some of the things that we're looking at, and even the unsightly defacing of our only waterfront we have, where Dominicans go to relax on the bayfront, the Demogena Boulevard. How can that be defaced? It looks so unsightly. Doc, just your take on that, because I know as the leader of the United Workers' Party, you are adamant and you will actually adhere to the development planners and to the technical people who will be putting the whole plan forward for the development of Roseau, to know that you have a Roseau that all of us can enjoy, not a Roseau where we're defacing it and people cannot even look at, the sea and enjoy, when you have the rising of the sun in the east, but you have to have sunset on the west, and people would like to see the sunset sometimes. It's a nice view to see, a picturesque view to see the sunset sometimes. So, Doc, your take on that?
Oh, absolutely. So the Roseau of a United Workers' Party team, Dominica, is one where you have decongested streets, you have parking, that is good. You have it such that vehicles can move, especially emergency vehicles can move. You can have designated emergency lanes, for example, or segments, so that if, for example,
Yeah,
there is a major disaster, a major event, that the vehicles, the fire engines and so on can easily get out, or the police vehicles can easily get out. So that is excellent. You want to, and then just the view, just the fact that it will be a lot more pleasant in your eye, so that we can see a Roseau with tree-lined streets, for example. We can see a Roseau without those tents on the bayfront, where you have a place for your individuals who are coming for the tourist thing, and even having a central location for our tourist boats. The Deepwater Harbor, for example, so can be extended to accommodate those
yeah.
tourist ships, not just one, four, five, six tourist ships. If you extend the port from where it is now at Woodbridge Bay, going back towards the direction of town, that entire area there can be developed to actually host your different tourist boats, and the
Right.
vendors will be accommodated there in good accommodations, preferably a free port area where people can purchase their jewelry and so on, the local produce and everything else. You can make it in such a way
Yeah,
that that, that
duty-free zone.
roads
Yeah.
roads will really become. So I like the thinking already that is going toward this. I like the ideas that has already been put forward, some of which were exposed at the meeting on Friday. It seems to me that we are onto something where we can present a role so that all of Dominica can be proud of. After all, we need to have a certain level of pride in our major city. And that is just not there right now. It is unfortunate you have all of these dilapidated buildings. You have buildings now where rubbish is being accumulated. You have grass growing on some of the sidewalks. You have to sidestep rubbish, the stench and everything else. We can do better than what we have now, and the planning, I think, is fantastic for that, and we are certainly on our way to ensuring that we have a Roseau and a city that we can really be proud of.
Yes, and so the bigger picture of a parking really is for the developers and a lot of well, there was a lot of work a lot of consultancies were done in the past, and there was earmarked for some parking facility, a more central like parking facility where buses can operate, people can take their buses and so forth and so that will be looked at. I mean the Pottersville area, lower down Pottersville, lower down Pottersville area, Potters Street down there, lower down was targeted for maybe a parking spot. I don't think that is now feasible, but also across the river by the stadium. So while we look at these small interventions in respect to this is in traffic congestion, the bigger picture would be a big parking facility that can hold hundreds of cars, and obviously will create the kind of spin-offs in respect to employment for young people and so there's a bigger picture. But in the interim, that's what we have been saying, and I know Doc, our party will be working closely with the development planners. We have such likes like Isaac Baptist and a number of other persons that can come in there and assist. You have the technical people who will be looking at actual city planning, and this is where we are going with this kind of discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let me just reassure the Dominican public that we are looking very seriously at this. We still asking questions though with regards to what happened to the $41 million that we were told was sourced for the Roseau Improvement Project. The other thing I've noticed about Roseau, so the how you call it, the lines, the lines are very unsightly. The posts and the lines are very
Oh
unsightly.
yes, we're
I
looking
would
for
like to
resilience.
replace those posts with trees, and have it such that it's more pleasing on the eye, and you can put all of these on the ground,
Right,
and
right, right.
and
Yeah.
so on. So with that kind of resource, we must be able to build a better Roseau, uh, a Roseau that's more sightly, a Roseau that is better planned and organized with regards to traffic flow, parking, decongestion, sidewalks that are also handicap friendly. In other words, we want people to be able, and also even have a roads where you can build bicycle lanes into the city in such a way that people can take rides through the city and
Yes,
so on.
yes.
So we have a lot of planning that is going into this, and it's something that I'm just really happy about. That's one of the projects I believe that we're really looking forward to, because it is clear that his government is not going to do it. Whatever has happened to the $41 million, but and in fact, it's not the first time we've seen at least two signings of resources for the Roseau, state-of-the-art Roseau that we've been hearing about. It's not going to come from this Labour Party government. It certainly will come from a United Workers Party team government that is certainly a lot more serious about these things, that is planning even now for when it happens. And so we just want to assure our Dominican public that we are very serious about this, that we are looking forward very much to be able to have a Roseau that will truly become the envy of the rest of the cities in the Caribbean region.
Yes, and just as we add in, we should not forget the decaying of Roseau. One, the present treatment of the Botanic Garden show that Roseau is that is part of the decaying aspect of this government has created. The Arak House of Culture, it is in ruins. That's form of a decaying again, decaying of Roseau. The public library, that is part of
Oh
the
yes,
whole thing
oh
of the
absolutely.
decay.
We
The
need
health
we need a
center,
library. We
yeah,
absolutely, can you imagine this
yeah,
library was built in 1903?
right,
I
right,
benefited from this library. In fact, I remember I had taken, I can't remember what the book was. And when I went to return the book, they told me that I had to pay a fee. I
right.
can't remember what the fee was, and I had to end up selling some bottles. I, I remember this place where thing is now, Best Buy is. They still have I think I can't remember who owned it. They used to sell like rum and different things there, so they would accept bottles there. So I was able to sell some bottles, and then from that go and pay my fee, because I had kept the book, I kept the book long. But that's a place that I was very much familiar with, and some of my early reading and early knowledge came from the library, and we have
Right.
to have a modern library where obviously people will have access to all of the latest gadgets, the
Yeah.
computers and everything else. But having
Yes.
those books there is just critical. So, you know, a Roseau Central Library where you can redo the grounds, so people can come there and relax, and the recreative part of it, that has to be part of whatever planning goes into Roseau. So we are going to make Roseau really a beautiful country, a beautiful city, uh, library, health facilities, decongested parking, getting rid of these wires, um, accessible, uh, how you call it, handicap accessible
Yes,
sidewalks and
yes,
so
yes,
on.
yes, yes.
All of these,
Wheelchair
we
access. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely is going to be part of what we will be doing
And
for.
people must understand too that when we talk about Roseau itself, the other Roseau areas, like for instance Roseau South, Roseau North, and even Roseau Valley must not be left out, because if you notice, just couple minutes away, or just by way of boundary, the whole parish of St. George consists of the Roseau, of the Roseau Valley, Roseau Central, Roseau North, and the Roseau Central. So Roseau South as well. So the point is, the parish of St. George should be really looked at holistically. And even as we speak, it is just amazing that this government does things in a way to hurt the people of Dominica. I was told, and I'm certain that this facility has been sold. The former public works compound has been sold. It is sold. I did investigation. It is sold. Now, interestingly, the person who bought the place is now renting for the port. The Chinese put all their equipment there. The port sometimes put what they call that, containers there.
Containers.
So good sense didn't tell you that this area could be, and I heard Honorable Danny Luge mention that already, that this area could be used for expansion of the port. But the government insisted to sell. I don't know why the government was so insistent to sell this property for its friend.
Well, the very same reason. Now that friend is making money of the government.
What is going on? And
Yeah.
so it's the holistic approach. And even as we speak, I mean, I'm not favoring the Chinese, I've already said so. But if you are giving the Chinese to develop their country, send them in the ASEA, let them make good road, let them make bridges, let them expand the country. Most of our establishment is on the West Coast, you know. And the Chinese come in to occupy places where our grandparents used pickaxe and shovel. No, they are good engineers. They are good in terms of working the terrain. Give them an area where you can have the Chinese city. So they expand, they put road, they put infrastructure, then they expand these areas. Don't give them what we have already. And even right now, as they functioning going up in that area there, they call Foko the industrial area. You know, the Chinese have making windows there and doors up there. They have that nice facility that could be also used as port expansion. What a waste! And then you give out all these good lands around the port, and you're talking about port expansion. Where are you going to where are you going to do the expansion? And so, Doc, we really need to look at these things holistically with the development planners, with the technical people, so that we can really consolidate all of the parishes or the communities that comprise all of the communities that comprise the parish of St. George. And so Roseau itself will have its say. We get its fair share of development, but also Roseau North, where we have our port, needs a lot of improvement. Look at the state of the port. The port's like a lab. Areas of the port, some aspect of the port like a lab has. I mean, I'm a frequent user of the port. Where I go on the port and take people merchandise, and I move in and out of the port. I even have a port pass I bought, so I can renew it annually. That just show you how frequently. In fact, that was imposed on me. I don't know which law that had to impose that on me, but I had to get a port pass. And inside some of the areas of the port is like a labas area. And if you're going to look at the state of the port, a lot of derelict machinery all over the place. They should dispose of this thing and clean up the port. The port needs that serious cleanup. So that we have work to do. And I know
Lots
your
and lots to
government,
do.
under your watch, you as the leader of the United Workers' Party in Dominica, under your watch, we have the confidence that this country will get back its rightful place and will be the envy of the Caribbean. And just before I ask you to react, Doc, I know the last set of consultancies that were carried out, and there are a lot of things talking about rooftop gardens and so, and that's commendable, rooftop gardens. But remember, not all roof can take a rooftop or have rooftop gardens, but all roof can take a solar panel. Can we not achieve easily Roseau being the solar capital of the Caribbean? Because
Absolutely.
every design roof can take a solar panel. So if we actually, as a government, put the right incentives in place, we incentivize the private sector to ensure that when they bring in those equipment like the solar panels and accessories, we could give them tax break, because our pillars talk about tax break as well. So when they get this tax break, people can now bring in the panels and they get the concession, and they can be off the grid, and to help expansion of our housing, our industrial areas, and these new areas can now go on the grid, because now there's space on the grid for them, and so that the generation of electricity through whether it's geothermal, through hydro, and even diesel powered can continue. Your take on that, because we're running long already, Doc, and we are after overtime already. But in your closing remarks, can you just at least elaborate on this thing?
Yes, absolutely. So that's another aspect of the, if you like, the beautification or the modernization of Roseau that is going to be important. How do you incorporate the use of renewable energies? And solar is a good way to go. As you said, every single house can accommodate a solar panel or two. And as the technology improves, the costs are going down, not up.
Yes,
That's the beauty of it. The costs are going down. The sun is endless. We are told it will be around for at least another billion years or so. So we have
Right,
nothing to worry about.
right.
We'll get the use of the sun, and it can be done. So, so that's the important thing. And that's the reason why we continue to encourage Dominicans to take a second look at the United Workers' Party Team Dominica, because what they will notice is that you have a group of individuals who are really committed to this country, one, but importantly, a group of individuals who are planning and strategizing and thinking ahead to ensure that this country truly becomes the best place to live, to work, and to enjoy life. That is something that we're very much committed to. And that's the reason why we want to talk to the people. That's the reason why we have been doing the town halls, and very soon we'll have a series of public meetings as well throughout Dominica, just to inform the population as to what it is that we are interested in doing. When there is need to criticize, we will criticize. But at the end of the day, we want to assure the Dominican public that first and foremost, we are committed to making changes in this country. We are committed to job creation. We are committed to a better country. We are committed to opportunities for young people. We are committed to ensuring that our young men in particular do not continue to fall through the cracks, that we have a state-of-the-art um, health segment, especially mental health, is taken into consideration, is taken care of, and that we develop and build a beautiful Roseau that we can all be proud of. So there is a lot of work to be done, a lot of planning to be done as we go forward. But at the end of the day, we would like to make the appeal to the Dominican public to throw their support behind us. We've had a party in office for the past 25 years that has practically failed the people of Dominica, that has not delivered on its promise, including the promise to make Roseau the state-of-the-art city. We've been hearing that promise for many, many years now. It is clear that they are either unwilling or unable to do it, and so they need to make way. And we are asking the Dominican public to help us, to ensure that the United Workers' Party Team Dominica becomes the next government of this country. And it's only then we'll be able to implement our plans and put forward what it is that we have been working on so very closely and so forcefully over the past several months.
Yes, so before we finally put on the curtain, let me just read some of the comments. Roseau should be by now have at least two car four floors parking to control the street congestion. Yes, yes, caller, we talk about a central parking area, and that is what actually we mean to get it done. Tell me how and who allowed Dragon Windows to secure prime land right next to our main port of entry at Woodridge Bay, when government service could have been extended in that area. Not in a million years a Dominican can or would be given such an opportunity in China. And I agree with the caller. The next one saying, and that's a very important point that's coming up there, Roseau also needs also needs a few public restrooms free to the public during the work hours. This will keep the city free from urine order. Yes, the stench has been really disturbing, especially in the lower part of Roseau. And yes, yes, caller, yes, texter, yes, participant, you are correct. And this is what we are saying, that around the city, you should have these facilities so that when people need to at least ease their system, their bladders and so, then that would be the just cause. And so, Doug, let me just thank you again for your time. This has been another edition of Real Talk. And so we want to thank you for your time. You have been very consistent. And people are just waiting for the time because everyone is saying, like, what's some more text? I'm not even reading it. Some people are saying, look, you are the man right now to have this country rescued, given your experience where you've worked, and given the country's issues right now that it faces, economic issues, social issues, many other issues, even political. And you have the right demeanor, the right mindset, and your team to come up with, good ideas to rescue Dominica. So I just want to thank you for your time. And Doc, as you wind down, I don't know if you would like to react on just what I read and just finally say good night to our program.
Yes, indeed, and yeah. So again, the person made the point about Dragon Windows really occupying the port, because that really should be part of the port expansion. Anyhow, you're going to expand the port, you have to expand into the land, and it is right there. And the question is, how did that happen? There are other places where business like that can be put. There's no reason why that kind of business should be where it is. That can be anywhere around Dominica, in any other place. So that planning that we talk about clearly has not gone into effect with this government. They have not been planning as we have. They have not been strategizing. So you have all of these. There are other examples. That's one example, but there are other examples of where you have buildings in the wrong place or business places occupying the wrong land. That is something that we're going to use because our experts, our land use experts, our town and country planners have to take a second look at those and see how we can actually do this. But at the end of the day, it is doable, it is workable. Where there is a will, there is most definitely a way, and our commitment is unwavering to the Dominican public that we will do what is necessary to build this country. We will do what is necessary to ensure that the people of Dominica get opportunities to work. That's very, very important for us. Job creation, number one priority for Team Dominica, UWP. Number one priority, job creation, to ensure that we get jobs in the various sectors that we have already identified: agriculture, the water industries, manufacturing, within our tourism sector. Just do that. Our renewable energy policy to ensure that we're able to make use of renewable energy to bring down the cost of electricity, not only to households, but also to encourage businesses to come in and invest in Dominica. So the plans are there, the strategizing is ongoing. But like I said, all of that will remain a dream. It will remain just a plan unless and until the people of Dominica decide that enough is enough with this Labour Party government, and it is time to have a United Workers' Party Team Dominica in office. And we are very confident also. And I would like to end on this note of confidence. I would like to assure the Dominican public that we are making traction, that we're gaining ground on the ground, and that the people of Dominica are listening to us, which is very important. They're listening. They're listening. And that, to me, is a great start. And we just want to continue to offer our ideas, offer our thoughts, offer our plans to the Dominican public. And we have every confidence that they will embrace us, they will embrace our candidates, and they will make us the next government of this country. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that that is where we are headed. And I want to express my sincere thanks to the Dominican public and to those who are listening tonight, not only here, but overseas, those who will listen to the broadcast later in the week, or those who will listen to the various reels that will be posted out of this broadcast. We just want to say a very special thank you to all of you and to encourage you to keep the faith. We have some ways to go, but we're getting there. We're getting there. The journey of 1,000 miles begin with one small step. And the small steps we are doing right now is planning steps that will eventually be revealed to the Dominican public as we go along with programs like this, and let them know that we're serious about developing this country. We are serious about making change. We are serious about ensuring that we create wealth. And as we create wealth, that Dominica becomes that place where we have prosperity for all of us here in this country.
Yes, and
Good night.
yes, and I must read that text. Yes, I say I was going to first close on, but let me read that text. So Labour have harvested us and make us believe in that they are the only choice. But I will tell you, we were planted, but Dr. Thomson Fontaine, we are harvested now. Dr. Thomson Fontaine is harvesting us to ensure that he provides the enable environment so that we can thrive and to bring a better quality of life for our family. So with that said, Doc, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank all the participants tonight. This time around, we continue to educate our people. So every Monday, as usual, we'll talk with the United Workers' Party, and you will see more of us. We always say so, and we promise you that we'll not stop, we'll not relent. We just need your support because we have been accused of not doing anything. Now that we are doing, we are going all around the island. We are having our social media programs and outreach. We want you to participate. We want you to bring your ideas. We welcome all of your thoughts and all of your ideas. This will help to build one Dominica, one nation, one blood, one people, one flag, one nation. We need that. So until such time, I said to you, continue to be supportive. We need this to transform this lovely country. Have a good night, and until such time, What's fair? Next week, Monday, we'll be right back with Real Talk. Have a good night. Pleasant night to you. Blessed.